What's up, my people? I am Bronwyn, I am your communication coach, and you are here in my channel where we talk about having confidence in conflict. How do we stay grounded and authentic and confident in moments of conflict? And this week, we are talking about examples of emotions in the workplace. Because here's the thing, whenever conflict arises, what makes it so panic-inducing, what makes it so challenging is that big emotions flare up. And it helps to be able to identify those big emotions and figure out how to deal with them. And that is what we're talking about today. Techniques and strategies and a framework for dealing with emotions at work. And as always, like and subscribe. I read every comment and I always respond. So please, 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 please drop me a note. Let me know if this resonates. Let's get started. So where this conversation has to begin is by acknowledging one simple, obvious, but easy to miss truth. And that is this. Anytime you get human beings together in a room to tackle complicated problems, or in a building or in a virtual room to tackle complicated problems, humans create conflict with each other. It's human nature. It's what we do. And the fact is, emotions that erupt as we come into conflicts with one another and disagree over how things ought to be done or should have been done or whatever, emotions run high naturally. It's how we're wired. So on some level, this work begins by acknowledging that you're human. Your coworkers are human. People get agitated. It's a pressure cooker sometimes. It's okay. It's part of being human. Just wanted to address that right up in front. It's gonna happen. Big emotions happen. And it's helpful to talk about examples of emotions in the workplace. Like, what do we mean by emotions? Okay, here's the greatest hits as I see them. Number one, anger. When your boss is angry at you, when your coworker is angry at you, when anybody you work with is angry with you, even if they're not angry at you, if they're just angry and you tend to run codependent like me, you assume it's because of you, right? Anger is a super common emotion we experience at work. You know what another one is? Frustration, which is kind of anger's like half brother or sister. Frustration and anger are kind of part and parcel. We can tell when somebody's frustrated with a situation or with us or with a coworker. It radiates off of them. So that's a super typical emotion we run into. Also, when someone is feeling threatened by us, by someone else, we can tell they're feeling threatened because they're behaving in ways that are passive aggressive, that are a little bit shady sometimes because they're feeling threatened. But how about this emotion? This is kind of a new one, because we're now in this virtual everything world. And that is the emotion of complete lack of emotion. That in and of itself it has an emotional signature, neutral face. In social science, they call it a neutral face. The most famous pieces of research done on neutral face was an experiment involving mothers and babies. And it's been an experiment that has been replicated around the world for many, many years. And what happens is the researchers have a mom and she brings her baby and they're like, oh, we love you. Everybody's happy. Mommy's happy. Baby's happy. Everybody's happy. And then the researcher says, okay, mom, now look at your baby, but go completely neutral face. And no matter what your baby does, mom, do not react. And so the mom's like, okay. And the baby's like, and the mom just goes, total Kim Kardashian, right? No expression. What the baby does next is some variation of trying to make the mom laugh, trying to touch her, trying to reach out and engage. And it's heartbreaking because you can see that this baby is so deeply stressed by this lack of emotion on the face that it tries all these techniques and then eventually just starts crying and tries hiding its own face because it's so traumatized and stressed by the mother's neutral expression. And that study what they derive from it is just how dialed in we are to each other's facial expressions. And what sucks so bad about doing business right now in this weird not really post-COVID world is that we are neutral facing each other in every Zoom, in every meeting, in every web, whatever it is, we're like this. Right? Because we feel like we're watching TV or we're just watching a face on a screen. We're not really conscious that the speaker who's talking is looking at our facial expressions Kardashian, and kind of feeling like that baby, like, I wish I could get something out of you. I can't get anything out of you. And that neutral face experience is somewhat of a new animal for us, right? It's something that's born out of all these virtual meetings. So that's another kind of emotional signature that we have to deal with. Not only do we have to deal with whether or not somebody's threatened by us or somebody's frustrated with us or somebody's angry with us, now we have this weird no man's land neutral face zone that is created in this two-dimensional world we now live in. Okay. So having said all of that, we've identified probably the most common emotional signatures that create conflict inside of ourselves, that show where there's conflict interpersonally. But now what are we going to do about it? I mean, that's why you're here. Am I right? Here's what I want you to do. Step one, and if you're able to be virtual, you can kind of do this and nobody knows you're writing it because you're just on camera or whatever. Step one is to just acknowledge that there's some sort of emotional interruption happening. There's emotional turbulence in the room. And you can just put your hand on your chest. Try it with me right now. Think about the last time there was like an emotional outburst at work. And I want you to call that into your mind right now. And just put your hand on your chest and just breathe into it. Step one, acknowledge it. Name it. What was that emotion? Okay, somebody is feeling angry right now. In fact, I'm thinking of one right now in my mind that just happened to me recently. There's an emotional disturbance, and that disturbance in the example I'm thinking of was deep frustration to the point where it was causing like mild shouting, business shouting, as my friend Erin calls it, right? Deep frustration, right? Step one, name it. Step two, let it be okay. Somebody's feeling, so-and-so is feeling frustrated. It's okay. They're human. They're allowed to feel frustrated. So we've named it and we've accepted that it is okay. Humans are going to feel what they're going to feel. There is no point in fighting it. And by naming it and letting it be okay, what you've done is created a little bit of space between you and that big emotion. Because when you're in it, especially if you tend to be more on the codependent side like me, immediately you're internalizing it. You're like, oh my God, the frustration is all I can see and think about, and I'm internalizing and I'm making it my fault. It's this swirling nightmare, right? But once you've named it and accepted it, now you've got some space between you and that emotion. You can breathe, which leads me to step three. Make a plan, right? So in the example that I'm thinking about, the person with whom I was speaking, who was agitated and frustrated and kind of business shouting, in that moment, the plan I came up with, which is kind of a great plan no matter what you're dealing with, is I knew I had to validate her frustration. Validate, 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 validate. What happens when you validate someone's emotion is you show them that you're not fighting them. You're there to help. You're there to help. Even if they're frustrated with you, you can say, you know what? I get the sense that this is incredibly frustrating to you and I get it. I just want you to know I get it. Immediately it lowers the temperature. So in that moment, I validated her frustration. And then I was able to share, this is what we're doing to take a path out of the situation that's creating so much frustration for you. And she immediately was like, thank you, that helps. And the temperature came down. So step one, name it. Step two, let it be okay. Step three, make a plan. And that plan almost always entails just validating what someone else is thinking or feeling, rather. Right? If somebody's super angry and they're just pissed and it's like, they're angry, validate their anger. Look, you have, your anger is valid and I want you to know we're on it. And here's what we're going to do. 99.9% of the time, that will take so much of the sting and lower the pressure, take the sting out of the situation. It will lower the pressure in the conversation. Now, there is one emotion that's a little more nuanced, and that is when someone feels threatened by you. Now, there are kind of two ways to look at this. When somebody feels threatened by you, and you can tell that's the emotion that they're giving, number one, you can do the tend and befriend strategy, right? Which is, look, I want you to know I'm on your team. I'm here to make you look good. You're here to make me look good. We're going to work together and make something awesome happen, right? You can set up a meeting with them. You can take them to coffee. You can set up a Zoom, whatever the thing is you need to do to make sure that they understand that you are on their side. And that allows them to relax a little bit. That happens to me all the time because when I'm coming in from outsider and I'm working with executives in-house, a lot of times the people around the executives with whom I am working look at me like, oh, is she gonna come in and talk smack about me to my CEO? I don't know how I feel about this lady. And so one of the first things I always have to do is establish I am not here to replace anyone. I am not here to make anyone look bad. I am here to work as a part of this team and elevate this executive that I'm there to help. Right? So that's one, tend and befriend. Make them understand that you're not there to make them look bad. But here's the thing. Some people are going to be threatened by you. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter that you're there to make them look good. Doesn't matter that you're there working on the same goal. They've decided that they're going to be threatened by you and there's nothing you can do about it. And guess what happens then? You just get busy being awesome. You just maintain your level of excellence and don't sweat it. Someone recently I was talking with was really struggling with this because she had been elevated in a role and the people that she was competing for that role with were now like that, right? They were threatened by her because she's in this new role. It's just this weird dynamic. And she tried to tend and befriend, she tried to reach out and they were just not cool about it. At a certain point, we need to let people have their feelings of threat. We need to let them have, like, that's not yours to deal with. It's theirs. You get busy being excellent. That's the thing. Now, lastly, what do we do about this still face thing? What do we do about this neutral face feelings that we're getting? Here's what we do about it. Number one, we can be better audiences, right? If our camera's on, let's make an effort to give each other facial expressions of warmth, of compassion, of kindness, of enthusiasm, whatever the case may be. Or if there's a question, we can raise our hand instead of going, you ever been on a Zoom where that's the face you're getting? Ooh, it is not fun. So number one, we can be better audiences. But number two, when we're the one looking at still faces, we can stop and we can check in with them. We can check in with them. We can say, hey, I just want to stop and check in with everyone. Person X, what are your thoughts so far? Person Y, anything to add to this? I'd love to know what you think about this specifically, right? Stop and force people to engage with you so that you can get a temperature gauge, so that you can see where they're at versus just guessing. So listen, those are some of the bigger emotions. Practice these techniques. Let me know how it goes. Let me know what you discover. Let me know what works and what doesn't work for you. I love hearing from you guys, and I hope this was helpful. Hey, listen, if you need to take this deeper, if you need to really work with your conflict management skills, need to get better at engaging with tough personalities, I want to invite you to go take my course, noenemy.bronwyncommunications.com. It is a masterclass with all of my absolute greatest hits for dealing with tough customers, tough people, tough personalities. noenemy.bronwyncommunications.com. Shine on. We need your light. I'll see you next time.